20 minutes to do this, and I intend to keep to that. My slides are. The chairs, I'm not too sure that the chairs left the fields to the slides. Right, so really it's interesting to be here this morning, this afternoon. This is the health finance landscape. I just intended to share finance landscape. I just intended to share the light on this particular topic that confronts us. So far, I'm sure you all know.
I don't know.
Let me ask the guys. There's another tripod in the
Mohammed mentioned that
that tripod has been there.
to fortification, we can build trust
Okay.
in our financial landscapes that empower sustainable banking and fosters inclusion. So let's explore the key stakeholders that will be required and the importance of good digital public infrastructure. What are the cultural advantages that as a people, as Africans, we are able to explore in dealing with this issue, and what are the downsides as well? And then what are some of the technologies? The last panel really gave us some of the issues that we could use in building a cyber resilience that we can also apply to the whole conversation of dealing with fraud. So the collaborative roles for mitigating fraud is really very, very important. You can't do it alone. Because fraud is a complex problem. It's a wicked problem, in fact, that demands unified multi-stakeholder approach. Each of you and I, as stakeholders, play crucial roles in this fight. And we need to ensure that we reset and know it to be able to deal with it appropriately. So which are the stakeholders that are required to be able to deal with this challenge? And so you need to deal with the issues of the regulators, the policy makers, the lawmakers as well. The telecom companies play a critical role, the fintech, the banks. I'll jump those people, academia, security personnel, the judiciary. The consumer is also very important when it comes to the issues of dealing with fraud. So let's look at the regulator. They must create, and the policy makers, they must create an enabling environment that balances innovation and security. And so their roles will include enforcing stringent KYC and money laundering regulations, mandating real-time transaction monitoring and reporting, promoting cross-border collaborations to combat transnational fraud, and then also establishing regulatory sandboxes to test innovative fraud mitigation solutions. To quote the late Kofi Annan, knowledge is power and information is liberating. So our regulators, our policy makers will have to come to the table. They need to invest in acquiring knowledge to match the pace of our fraudsters. They always seem to, these fraudsters always seem to be ahead of us. So the reason why we need to make sure we have the red team and the blue teams. They must develop ethical hackers just as we develop ethical fraudsters, just as we have ethical hackers. Those whose business is becoming up with new methodologies so that we're able to master these bad guys. Regulators must ensure information flow freely among the various stakeholders to create a unified defense against
So find the battery.
So for our members, the telcos, we normally serve as the rails on which other businesses like the banks, the mobile money, the fintechs ride on. And so our roles will include securing the same registration process to prevent identity fraud, partnering with the banks, the fintechs, and the EMIs to detect and block fraudulent transactions, leveraging data analytics to identify suspicious patterns in mobile financial usage and other digital transactions. And the two chambers that I work for, we have been at the forefront of this, working closely with the Bank of Ghana, with the Cybersecurity Authority, the cybercrime units of secure data finances, we have created what we call the fraud control dashboard, which is a collaborative offline tool. And so this particular tool enables a particular MME, when fraud is reported, they will investigate. Once they find out that it is true, what then happens is that SIM card is blocked. When they block the SIM card, every device, and these the ones, the good brands, have a unique number called the IMEI number. And that IMEI number is also blocked. So that device that cannot be used on that particular telco. Then we also block the ID. So when that is done, it's only one particular telco. It will then be put on the fraud control dashboard. And so once it's put on the fraud control dashboard, then the other telcos will also block it. So now the EMIs have also come in. So when it goes onto those other telcos, it means that that device will no longer be used on the three MNOs in Ghana. And then also, for the IMEIs, the EMIs coming in, it means you will not be able to use it for mobile money on any of the 5 EMIs as well. So since we started at our 62,000 IDs have been blocked, and about the same number of IMEI numbers have also been blocked as well. What we are planning to do is to do the phase 2, where we can automate this using various APIs and electronic identity register as well. And so the conversation that the minister is talking about is one of the things that we're explored to be able to do. So the issues of the banks and the fintechs, they must prioritize security in their products and services through fraud prevention and detection. As has been said by our colleagues, security should be a matter of, should be designed into their systems. And the tendency for overly depending on others for their security, especially when they ride on the telco, should stop. They themselves should also learn to be able to close their doors as they work with the telcos as well. So they should invest in implementing advanced fraud detection system powered by AI and machine learning, as we have spoken about this morning. Education of the customer is really critical and it has to be continuous. Sharing fraud intelligence with other players in the ecosystem to create a unified defense is critical. And this agenda is also, as I mentioned, the work that we're doing cannot stay with only these. The integration with the police and others are going to be important. A critical part of this will be our consumers. And the consumers are really critical in all of this. We talk about the people. And they are the first line of defense, as has been said. So the consumer need to be our sharing their personal information, the use of strong passwords, and enabling two-factor authentication, reporting suspicious activities for people. As we also mentioned, we as people, we as consumers, because all of us are consumers, subscribers of the source. We are the weakest link in our defense. And so there has to be a constant and continuous education and awareness creation. We all share the responsibility of educating and informing our customers about the latest fraud technologies. This is a collective responsibility for all stakeholders, and we all should commit to that. The next batch in all of this is academia. Academia is really going to be important in terms of the researching into these fraud issues and the innovative ways in which we will be able to deal with that. They can contribute to a lot to that. From the technological angle to the social angle, the cultural and behavioral dimension. The only way in dealing with a wicked problem is via research and applications of these findings of the research. We as operators, the banks, the fintechs, the telcos, should offer our data on fraud and use cases to academia for research. Additionally, all stakeholders should provide academia with a crucible with which to test these findings once they come up. And we should be ready to be able to work together with academics. So instead of a BPP, I will be proposing a BPAP, and I'll speak about that in due course. The next group of stakeholders are the security services and security personnel. Our security services need to stay ahead updating their skills of the criminal. They need to conduct regular security audits, penetrating testing, collaborate with other stakeholders to share best practice. And there should also be collaborative regulation to ensure law enforcement. We cannot continue to use analog policing to want to fight these digital forces. In Ghana, it is going to be important that the cybercrime unit has to be decentralized. Currently, you find them only in the head office and maybe a bit some of the
take it forward now.
and that has to be
It's not
to be decentralized
Is it straight?
and mainstream. Let me tell you a story about what happened to me. My old school, one of our classmates, we don't know whether he defrauded us or he was defrauded, he defrauded us. You know, so he reported that the child, one of his daughter was sick, and no one rallied to support. Now, after we supported and we found out it was something fishy, and we established that it was fraud, he had gone to go and report insulting. Lo and behold, the policeman in Sokon said he should come to Accra to come and report because the incident happened in Accra. And he's using analog, means. If you go and steal, the jurisdiction you steal in, the tomatoes, that's where you have to go and report it. And he's bringing that into the digital space as well. So we need to mainstream the whole issue of cybercrime so that our people, our security people realize the fact that, it does not really require jurisdiction. The people could be outside and they will still be dealing with you. We don't even know whether some of the fraudsters are coming from the moon. So where it happens should not be the limiting factor. The impact of cybercrime on those at the bottom of the pyramid is also very debilitating. The amount involved when you look at them are quite small, but for them it's a sizable amount of their funds. And so if somebody loses the 50 cedis or so in my town of Shelby, for example, that is a large part of his business. And if he goes to report to the police, because they are using analog methods, why would they spend their effort and time going to fight after 50 cities? And so we need to change the mode of fighting this. And so the police and the security services would have to learn how to employ digital technologies to be able to do that. And to be able to do that, we need to collaborate with them to ensure that they also get the data, they have access to the information that they require to be able to fight this. And one of the things that has to happen in Ghana, and I don't know what happens in other countries in Africa, we need to get a cybercrime authority to collaborate very closely with the cybersecurity authority to fight these crimes. The next group is the judiciary. They also play very critical roles in combating fraud. In Ghana, while the police and the security agencies are responsible for legal enforcement, it is the judiciary who have to deal with policy implementation, adjudication of cases, and also deterrence. A few of the things that the judiciary would have to do to collaborate in the fight against fraud would be strengthening and reviewing the legal frameworks when we speeding up fraud-related cases, enhancing the sentencing and deterrent regimes, expanding our jurisprudence over digital fraud cases, learning from other jurisdictions for such emerging threats, and using the courts to expand our laws through precedent. Because unfortunately, our laws are still updating. If you look at the Electronic Transaction Act and all of that, they are old. Some of the new crimes that are coming were not there like you. So if you want to just use the letter of the law, you might fail. But it's interesting that we're a common law country, so we can learn from other jurisdictions and use precedent to be able to expand our laws. Then it should also strengthen the judicial and police prosecutor coordination. It also can drive public awareness through the cases that come to court and ensure judicial transparency. Cross-border collaboration amongst the judges would help also in tackling transnational fraud. Then we need to look at the issues of our DP Act. And in Ghana, our IP authority is called the National Identity Authority. A robust national identification system is the cornerstone for fraud mitigation. It ensures that every individual can be uniquely identified, verified, and authenticated, reducing the risk of impersonation and identity theft. However, for it to be effective, it must be appropriately priced. Affordability is key to widespread adoption, especially among low-income populations and businesses looking to leverage on such a system. One of the challenges that we have with our same registration was because the NIA then was asking for an arm and a leg to be able to do the verification and all of that. So that has to be changed. It also has to be secure. The biometric database should be protected against all breaches. And then it ought to be interoperable. It should integrate seamlessly to other digital systems. Interestingly, we recently visited the acting CEO of the NIA, and he seemed to have his hand on the ball, dealing with the issues of affordability, also running a very open system. Other critical DPI that we need to look at is unified payment interfaces that will facilitate secure and instant transaction. Credit bureaus providing transparency in financial issues. You know that the challenge we have in government, you're trying to send money to somebody on a particular number, it says, no, don't send money on that. Why? Because it's going to take some notes on that and that's what we get. That is also fraud. And so I've experienced it with even some pastors before. We also need to look at our digital land registry as well. So the conversation about our culture in Ghana and in Africa, I'm sure we all, we are very community-centric, and so we can use that close loop to be able to fight for. And unfortunately, it is that same thing that also leads us to being so trusting. And so it also makes us paranoid. So you find out that most of the fraud that happen will not be systems that have been compromised, but it's the people that have been compromised. In the middle of that is also this whole thing about greed. The man knows that he's not that only getting promotion, but he's been told that he's known something and he still would want to go and do it. We need to also take advantage of our trust in mobile money and find ways in which we can deal with that. Another thing that we need to do to deal with fraud is also the issues about the fact that our USSD still seem to be leading a lot of the conversations on the mobile money fraud, and that cannot be, because my grandmother in China, for example, was struck. So he writes, his pin on another paper and give it to somebody to get help him. And it's the same people who are defrauding them. So one of the charges I give to our members is that we need to get to the point where we move on to the digital platform, where my grandmother can speak to a device, voice recognition, biometric recognition, to be able to do her transaction. So that's going to be important. The respect of authority also helps us, so we can use that. But limited digital literacy is a challenge, and then also the big thing is the culture, the culture of stigma. Because of the stigma around fraud, when people are defrauded, you don't want to mention. And so I might be sitting with you, I'll be defrauded, I won't tell you. Then the next one you also will happen. But to be able to break that has to go. So the lessons that can be learned from Ghana, and I think one of the big ones is our interoperability, the way we're able to collaborate to be able to do that. We need that same collaboration to be able to drive the things that are happening. The various sandboxes that are happening, Bank of Ghana started it, the other regulators are starting it. It would be good for them to even collaborate around the sandboxes as well, so that, because you're finding out the fraud is moving across. It's happening in the insurance phase, the mobile money, the internet banking phase. So how do we all work together to do that? And I mentioned the issue around the public-private partnerships that have helped the mobile money interoperability. We need to bring academia into that so that we'll make it private-public academia partnership to be able to ensure that we are able to win. And then in terms of the technologies, we've spoken about that, so I'm not really going to spend a lot of time. The whole issue of AI, biometric authentication, decentralized finance, quantum computing, behavioral analytics, all of these need to be happening. We should be working together to make sure that happens. So thank you very much. To be able to succeed in this, what we need to do is to collaborate, to collaborate, to collaborate. Thank you, and God bless you.
Francis, what did you do with yours? You've given it up. Can I just borrow it for one moment? Because I have a question for you that I would love for you to answer. You can answer it on your way down, but you mentioned cybercrime and cybersecurity. And in 30 seconds, can you just explain what the difference is? I think it's important.
Right. So, again, cybersecurity is what we do to protect ourselves. But our criminals who are committing today's crime using the cyber web. And interestingly, in Ghana, so we have a police unit that deals with cybercrime. And in terms of our cybersecurity, we have a cybersecurity authority or cybersecurity law that have been put in place that is looking at our cybersecurity resilience. And so that's why there's a need for collaboration. So the whole conversation on critical infrastructure and all of that is coming from our cybersecurity law. Thank you very much.
Thank you. And while he takes his, is there anyone in here from academia? Please give him a round of applause. Does we actually have anyone from academia in here? None. So don't. We're still at EP. We need the A to come in. So if anybody knows anybody in academia, please connect with them as well. It's not just about the classroom. It's about how we get them involved in also fighting cybercrime. Now, our next guest is Bernard Jeffy. Have I said it? Okay, it's okay. All right. He is the managing director for Prudential Bank, and he will be coming to talk to us about digital transformation. And I like the subtitle which says cultural change, security, and the cool factor. So I definitely want to hear about the cool factor with this, but please let's welcome Bernard. Thank you.
Thank you very much. I don't think I can be as engaging speaker like my friend and mate from university in Kenya.
Accra's Benzo.
I'm just coming to talk about culture and the cool factor. I know today we're here for digital transformation. All the presentations and the discussions that have gone on here, one would think that we're actually here to talk about cybersecurity. Right?
Exactly.
But don't worry, I'm not here to scare you with that one. This one I'm going to talk about a certain factor that we tend to miss out on, or we tend to downplay when we are embarking on the journey for transformation. Digital transformation, I must say. Slice. Can I have one slice, please? Okay, so I'm going to walk you through global and domestic shifts, the key imperatives for continuous innovation, traditional versus digital banking. Our journey so far here in Ghana, across the world, I'll tell you a bit about what we've done in Prudential Bank so far. I'm sure most of you here, there are a lot of bankers I recognize from a lot of banks. I'm sure when we are talking about digital transformation, we're not really places out there, but we are really out there. And I'll tell you a bit about what we've done out there, even though we're doing it silently, right? I'll tell you about that, why we believe that we have what we call the cool factor. I won't bore you about balancing innovation and cybersecurity. As I said, it's been thrashed enough over here. But I'll tell you about the need for cultural growth and why culture is important. When Bill was speaking, he mentioned culture. He mentioned he actually mentioned the negative side of culture and how it affects cybersecurity. Incidentally, there was an earlier speaker, I think it's Mr. Dacha from First Atlantic Bank. Is it First Atlantic? Yeah. He also mentioned people, and indeed I actually took notes from him. On 2 occasions, he actually mentioned the need for people. Right? So it is very important that we look at the people, but in my case, not just individually, but as a group and what we do, which is what the culture is about. I still don't have my slides. Well, let me see what I can do with the slides. Yeah. This is supposed to be a digital you see, as with culture, you always have to get a backup. And so the backup is still here. I'm looking at it. Yeah. Now, in all our cultural transformation journeys that have gone on, we've tried to move away from the traditional sort of practice where people walk into banks and come for services and we interact. Some people still like it. People still enjoy it. There are people of a certain generation who still enjoy it, right? They will continue to come. They will continue to be in there. In everything that we do, the human factor will still play out. Digital, I doubt, will forever will be in a position to totally replace the human interaction. Totally. No. Even when there are robotics are doing some of the thinking and talking for us, there are some people who still prefer to deal with the human beings. Now, what is holding banks back in terms of proper digital transformation? Incidentally, it is not the technology. The technology we have them out there. When I went out there for coffee, I've been approached by about 6 or so vendors who all are coming to me with various solutions. It is good, right? It is also not just the security bit. The thing about the security bit is that you cannot downplay it in any way. If you don't regulate yourself, the regulator is there. We have the regulator and they're chasing you and always finding breaches that you have caused. And that will always cost you, right? Indeed, if you ignore your own self-regulation and you ignore the regulator's regulations, it will come up to hit you financially. It will. And so you sit down. So the regulation, the security bit has never really been an issue. No, not that it hasn't been an issue. It is not so much something that you can choose to ignore. That's what I want to say. You'll be compelled to take account of it. Not so with other factors, right? Our landscape is growing in terms of the digital landscape. I mean, I don't need to tell you how many mobile phones that we have in hand. Mobile phone connectivity, I think we have about 34 million or so. Mobile phone lines that we have, because in Ghana, a lot of people carry two phones, like I do, right? So, our connectivity is about 150-something%. Our uptake rate, it's finally here. Let me see how far I can take you there. Right. And just when I was talking about it, it pops up for me. So this is the global versus what we have in Ghana. You can see, did I say, 115, not 150. That's the sort of connection that we have, mobile connections. And since 2017, we've actually grown 500% plus, right? Bank accounts, still growing. The internet users is 69. Look at the world internet users, 68%. You come to active social media, with 35%, a bit low. But when it comes to mobile connection, and that's where a lot of the innovation is taking place, we really grow in it. So there's a need for us to continue that growth. How do you accelerate it? That's what I'll come on to. I was talking about this one earlier. Let me see whether I can do it quickly. Yeah. Where we are coming from and where we want to go to. You spot something in there that I spot what digital transformation can take us to. Something that is topical of late, 24-hour times 7. It is right there. You cannot actually achieve that 24-hour transformation without a digital transformation. You cannot. It allows for self-service. Today, I read the papers that the FPA are thinking of deploying some self-service machines that will enable flow stations to actually serve people without people, right? Without the need for people to stand up, right? So that is important. This is where we want to get to. A level of enhanced user experience. That's the reason why we embark on all this digital transformation. Now, what is holding us back? As I said, we've spoken about engineers, spoke about fraud, we've spoken about identity, we've spoken about all the cyber risk issues. Let me move on to what I want us to achieve. We'll come back to this slide later. How do you achieve digital transformation in such a way that it's really beneficial to you? Because you can go and buy everything, plug on everything, and and yet you look like you're just doing what everyone is doing, right? You need to do it the right way. Otherwise, as the code says, you end up having a caterpillar which is just delivering something that you were delivering with your paper systems. This is not what you want. Why does digital transformation fail? What prevents us from holding, achieving in the way we want to achieve? There is a strategy one. I am sure, I don't need to bore you with that one too as well. What we say about strategy and structure and how if you don't get the structure right, you are not going to be able to achieve something, right? Then there are the operational things. We spoke about them again enough here. But the most important factor is the one that I've highlighted in marriage. That is the cultural mistake. Resistance to change. There are organizations where you have people working in silos. And my own organization, Prudential Bank, we had that. We had a digital transformation department that was sitting on its own. Very separate from the IT department, very separate from all other digital and technological departments. Just doing their own innovation and transformation. Now, what have we done to be able to accelerate our transformation? What we've done is to integrate it so that with all the e-banking, e-commerce, IT, technology, all of them are now sit under one person is available, right? And they make sure that they coordinate everything such that it becomes more beneficial to the users, which is our staff and then ultimately our customers, in order to help us achieve our goal of making more money using digital systems. So that's where what we've done. Lack of investment in people, even as we invest in the systems, even as we invest in the digital technology, we sometimes fail to invest in our people by way of training and then cultural transformation. Digital transformation should go along with cultural transformation in order to be effective. Otherwise, we will just be doing something that we will be doing just to feel good, thinking that we want to be good. Let's just say, let's say we hear about one bank doing something. We also want to do it. You hear they've adopted a certain system, you also want to do it. No. If you really want to achieve the sort of result that you want to achieve, then you have to make sure that you align culture with the transformation. So in as much as we're doing the digital transformation, there should also be a cultural alignment ongoing. Yeah? This is what I'm talking about. You want to achieve a cool factor. As I said, the security one seems to be an imperative. Almost everyone, if you compare to do it. But the cultural one, if you don't work on it, you will not be able to achieve the cool factor in the proper way. How do you achieve proper digital transformation? I joined a bank where in one department, almost everyone in that department had their computers. There was a desktop computers. They had a covered, right? They had a covered covers. Now you ask yourself, in a situation like that, in that department, assuming a significant part of the bank or the organization were like that, how do you then achieve appropriate digital transformation? How do you even implement a workflow system, a digitalized workflow system in certain place? You would have to work on the people and their mindset and encourage them to be able to take up the digital solutions that you have. Otherwise, no amount of digitization or no amount of transformation that you do in the digital space will actually come to work. Let me not bore you with this one again. As I said, we've spoken enough about cybercrime and cybersecurity. We all know the figures and how expensive they are to us. I had the figure of 10 trillion being quoted earlier on. I can't imagine what 10 trillion looks like. I mean, even 10 billion Ghana cedis, I find it difficult to appreciate. So we all know how much it's costing us. Let me not bore you with that. Right? Again, let me not bore you with this one. It is true that we want to innovate. It is true that we want to transform. But so quite often, we need to balance it with the cybersecurity. And maybe that's the reason why, even though we are at a digital transformation conference, we've had about our first 4 or 5 speakers and even the panelists lay so much emphasis on cybersecurity. You cannot just ignore it, as I'm saying. Yeah. Now let's begin. Strategy and structure. These are the elements of the cultural rebirth. If you really want your digital transformation to achieve the goals that you want, you can stop just being a mere cool factor. Our mission and values must be aligned. You have to touch the minds, hearts, and the skill sets of the people. Otherwise, they will continue to cover their computers with the covers, and they will never get to use your workflow what we've done, something that we've done in Prudential Bank once again. We try to align our values, with our strategy, new values, new mindsets, everything. We've come up with something that we call integrity, something quite exciting, right? Integrity actually stands for bold. A bold new solution, a bold new approach to doing things. And that is what we've done. Just so that our digital transformation journey is smooth. But it is integrated as part of a single, unified strategy, right? In most organizations, in transformation, we overlook it. We overlook the cultural, the need for the cultural change. But it's a key catalyst in driving digital transformation. I cannot stop emphasizing that. If you want to achieve proper digital transformation, you need to understand the culture of the people. You need to understand what drives them. You need to ask yourself whether there's existing structures like we had in our place, where we have a standalone digital transformation unit. You need to understand whether it is responsible to the needs of today's customers. Internal structures, I've spoken about it. Is there an environment in the bank, within the organization, that ensure cooperative, or is there a competitive environment where corporate, typically with the multinationals, where corporate thinks they are competing with retail or PPP? Is that what we have? Do we collaborate? Do you have a single sort of structure, 7 corporate, another structure, 7 retail or PPP? Do you have one that serves only the back office and another one that serves only the front office? How do they two work together, or the various functions work together in order to provide harmony or to serve the customers better? And then the structures that are there, how do you revive them? How do you review those changes that are coming from the industry? Do you promote creativity? Granted, it is not always easy to promote creativity and innovation in the bank. I keep saying that. There are too many rules and regulations and processes that you have to go through. Too many procedures that are required, policies. I think bankers, we know policies more than any other organization. We have policies upon policies that will not really allow creativity. But then there is always also the latitude to do that. There is the latitude to do that, right? You have to review all these things in order to ensure that you are getting the cultural route to support your digital transformation journey. Let me see. I would like to give you a couple of anecdotes. I wanted to show you a certain progression. That one. Allow me to indulge in a bit of right. So this is the sort of cultural transformation model that myself and my team have created. Right. This is where we're coming from. The blue one down there. We've come from a station where, most importantly, our culture was based on traditional banking model. We've moved from there. We've done the structure and a strategy. Sorry, I missed that one on the slide. A strategy and a structure review to ensure that we incorporate the digital transformation or the digital banking ideology in everything that we do. Unfortunately, I can't tell you all where we are headed to. Because for us, we want to be something that is driven by technology. And that's what we are aiming at. We've ensured that our vision and mission is aligned. We've moved from being a bank that just provides solutions like credit, etc., to a bank that provides solutions in, how do you call it, provides solutions to business, right? So transaction solutions is there. And without a good digital platform, you're not going to have a good transactions. So it will not happen. Now this is where we are now. We have reached a situation where we have a sense of responsibility to innovate and then use an augmented approach. We want to get to the top, where we have the results, continuous strategy and data-driven environments. We started from the very bottom. I'm not blaming anybody, but we've worked on this and transformed ourselves to the point where we've reached the one step until we reach the end. I don't know how many of you know of this story about the Zero story. I think it's been used in a lot of business school classes, right? About how a new CEO went to a place, Xerox, and realized that their results had plummeted. Then, confidently, when asked how he was going to transform it, he said, When asked, and somebody advised that we should build the culture, he said, I am the culture. Right? It is her who was going to drive the culture, now was going to boost innovation. The end is what we have over there. How they rebounded because she tackled the culture and they managed to rebound into profitability. There's a similar story. There's a similar story about Microsoft and how they also rebound, right? Because they tackled the culture. So the culture tackling is important if you want to achieve the cool factor. You just cannot start from the cool factor and then come to the important. Right? We all know what Microsoft is now, even though Apple is giving them a run for their lives. But there is a story over there for them. This is where we want to go to. We want to achieve an enhanced customer experience, improve operational efficiency. And for us, operational efficiency means a lot. We want competitive advantage, agile decision making, which we try to achieve using digital solutions. But most importantly, is the one at the bottom corner there. I don't know whether you can see it from here. But the revenue. All this innovation and transformation we're talking about is bottom line. We want to achieve an enhanced level of revenue, not just an arithmetic growth, but an accelerated growth in order to ensure that our bank will be on a sustained level of profitability. This is where we are. Culture isn't just an aspect of the game. It is the game. If you want to achieve transformation, culture is the game. You have the culture right, you have everything right. Right? A few more goals for you. I'm sure you've heard of this Jabraka one. That culture is strategy for breakfast. It is true. But no one has culture is strategy for life more than in technology. Actually, in let's say like breakfast, actually in terms of technology and digital transformation, culture is strategy for everything. Breakfast, lunch, supper, and desserts. Thank you very much.
Strategy for breakfast.
Culture eats strategy for breakfast. I won't ask you to raise your hands to say how many of us have a culture that we need to work on in terms of innovation, but it is key. It absolutely is key. And if you don't have the support, if you don't have the organization working together versus in silos, as was mentioned, it will kill your innovation. Like it literally will kill the innovation. So thank you so much, and we will move to our last presentation between us and what, lunch. But you know, it's not a bad thing. So it's good. It's extra motivation. But I would like to invite, and I hope I can say his surname correctly, Peter Redelingus, I think. Who is Director of Sales at ITSS Global. Peter, thank you so much for coming. He will be talking about the future of meeting customer demands. Thank you.
Hi everyone. Thank you for having me in your wonderful, friendly city and country. It's always good to be here. I'll be quick. As already mentioned, I'm standing on lunch. My wife says I look a hamburger as I'm getting older, so I'll be quick. When I thought about what I was going to talk about today, I thought about what is it that I've learned in the last 10 years, or what is the thing that's astounded me most in the last 10 years of doing transformation projects in bank. And when I'm talking about transformation, I'm talking about digital transformation. small projects, big projects, complete digitization from back to front, front to back. And what I learned from that was a very, very simple thing that actually frustrated me completely. And that is that we've done more than 100 very, very successful projects, all that had very little impact. Right? And so it got me to a point of asking a question, right? As in, how is it that we can work so hard, work so well with our customers, and produce such great results in the context? But, sorry, my sound is going and going. So this is what there we go. So this is what I learned. Very, very simple lesson. Good questions bring us good results. Right? And if I'm honest about it, that more than 100 projects came as a result of our clients asking good questions. And they got good results. But what I also know is that great questions produce great results. So, in the context of what I'm talking about, these are the kinds of questions. I'm still moving my foot. Oh, there we go. So, the kinds of questions that clients ask, right? Which are good questions. How do I digitize my call? Right? Anyone else? You guys here? Anyone ask that question? How do I digitize my call? How do I reduce my total cost of ownership of my IT infrastructure? Anyone ask that question? Yes? No? Yes? Okay. Good question. Right? How do I tap into the pay later market? Can you give me a faster time to market, to launch new products? Right? How do I leverage AI? Anyone ask that question? Right? These are all good questions. Right? These are all good questions that lead to good projects, but do not necessarily make a big impact. Okay? So, the real question then is, what is a great question? Right? Before I get to that, I want to share some insights with you. There we go. So, I need to give you a backstory, right? Because the clue to asking great questions is in understanding what it is that your customer wants or what your customer is after, right? In other words, starting at the end, which is satisfying your customer. And in order for us to be able to ask the good questions, we need to understand what is the journey of what our customers have been asking for. And more importantly, where is it going and what is expected? So, I'm going to take you through a little journey of sharing with you, at least what I understand to be the evolution of customer demands over, let's call it, the last 100 years, or more, or less. And these demands impact both your products, services that you offer, as well as your identity. The previous speaker spoke about culture, right? Culture is linked to your identity, your values, what you believe, what you stand for. People identify with that. People either go with that or are pushed away by that. Right? And your products and services meet a need, right? So let's quickly just look at what it is that customers wanted and where it started, right? At the early days, if you had the ability to meet a need, you were in business, right? This is a stupid example, right? There was a time when you couldn't buy bread, you had to bake bread, right? Then all of a sudden, some guy decided, oh, let me bake a bread and make it available to other people, and he met a need. Right? Not so long ago, in this country, and in many other countries, even in South Africa, where I come from, we didn't have access to a lot of things. Right? But as soon as they became available, we started hungry. Right? So, what we learn about the evolution of customer demands is that the requirement that was then is still a requirement now, right? In other words, you can't take anything to market or engage with your client if you're not meeting a need, right? So you always have to meet a need. But what happened from there on, right? And I think the Industrial Revolution was sort of a turning point around us, right? Is that we can't just meet a need. Customers start to say, well, we have to be trustworthy. What does that mean, right? In banking, that a lot. But in simple terms, what it means is you need to always be there. Your product needs to be consistent. It needs to always work. Right? I was having a discussion with somebody, a service provider, and they were saying that, you know, one of the biggest struggles is that we really focus on delivering a good service. We deliver a really good service, and our customers are really happy. But none of them are telling anybody else to use us. Right? And my response to that was, well, maybe have you thought that delivering a good service is just the benchmark standard? In other words, nobody raves about it, right? Nobody goes to the store and an iPhone and comes home and tweets, hey, I bought an iPhone and it worked. Right? We don't do that. It's an expectation. Right? We've got to be trustworthy. People need to be able to depend on you. Right? But these are early days of consumer or customer demands. So, as consumerism evolved, you had to meet a need, you had to be trustworthy, and then all of a sudden, there's some competitors in the market, right? Now you go to the shop and there's 2 or 3 or 4 different brands of bread, right? US banks have technology providers knocking on your door every day to wine and dine you, right? Want to show you the next, latest, greatest thing that's going to revolutionize your world. Right? And what is the response? Tell me what you have. Tell me why should I buy from you? How do you differentiate? Right? Well, the whole features and benefits conversation. Right? In other words, your product you're taking to market, what do you get? Oh, you get these rewards. You get this kind of discount if you use this credit card at these shops, etc., etc. Right? But that's not enough. Customers started saying, great, you meet a need, you're trustworthy, so is everybody else, right? Yes, you have these features and benefits, they have those features and benefits, but actually what's really important to me is that you speak to my values, right? I'm going to bank with you because you donate money to plant trees, because I'm really worried about the environment, right? There's a values alignment that our customers look for, right? And then beyond that, right, we moved into an era predominantly enabled by technology, right? Where customers used to start saying, okay guys, met all of these requirements, but I am such a unique individual, you need to offer something personalized just for me. Right? You need to speak to me. Don't tell me I must buy this or I must do business with you because somebody else did. You need to customize it to me. You know, you can go online now and you can customize your own Nike tackies or sneakers. Right? It's how it works. So this is the history of how the customer demands have evolved over time, right? And this is quite a big shift in a very short space of time. So here's the $100 billion question, right? What's the next step in this evolution? The answer's already on the screen. What are consumers saying today? What they're saying is, whatever you're offering me, it needs to be embedded in my life. It needs to become part of my everyday life so that I don't have to go look for you, I don't have to find you, I don't have to come apply nobody to you. You are just there when I need you and miraculously show up. Now, technology enables a lot of that. Right? Now, this poses a big challenge to the banking world, right? Because we don't just have to contend with customer demands evolving like that, right? We're also dealing with the rapid changes in technology, right? The rapid changes and heavy demands of risk and compliance, and all the competitors of the modern world, right? Neobanks, fintechs, all kinds of things coming into the space, trying to eat into the pie, right? So what we have to do is we have to manage all of these things. All of these things, though, if you ask me, get reduced down to two things, right? The challenge we have is we have to deal with more complexity, and we have to deal with an increased rate of change, right? If you look at the time limit or the time frame gap between from when the first telephone was invented, right, to a cordless phone, how long was that? Decades, right? From the cordless phone to the mobile phone to the satellite phone, how long was that? Years. Right? The rate of change that we have to deal with and consumers are asking for is massive. Right? So, what we end up with is a scenario where, can you just help me at the back there by pushing it twice? And again. What we're dealing with is a scenario where what we have to deal with at the end of the day to be competitive, right, to be the leader, is a huge amount of complexity and the pace at which things are changing, and this becomes impossible, very difficult to manage, right? Which is why I can support be a speaker of a culture, right? Because if you don't generate a culture that understands and has a willingness or an appetite or desire to deal with this increased complexity and rate of change, you're dead. Just push it again, please. So that brings us to then, what are great questions? Okay? This is the first great question. Where are the opportunities to embed services and products into my client's life? Right now, that's a theme. There's 100 questions you can ask around that, right? What does it mean to embed a service into my client's life? What does that look like? How do I enable that? Etc., right? But what's the difference between this question and a good question? The difference is the great question, right, focuses on the person you want to serve. The other good questions focuses on things that you have decided is somehow going to serve my customer. Right? We skip a step. And when we skip that step, we miss a lot of really important things. And that's the difference between doing a lot of good projects that make a massive impact versus doing good projects that make very little impact. Can I just get another tab? That's an interesting question. You don't have to put hands up or answer. But how much of my investment today enables me to embed my products or services into my client's life? If that is where the consumer demand is, and let's say you disagree with me, let's say you have a different idea. You don't believe that the future is embedding into your client's life, right? Change the question. How much of my investment today enables me to do whatever it is that you believe your client is asking for? And I can tell you now, if there's not a direct link between where you're spending your money now and how you plan to service your customer, you have a problem. So, again, another theory. The future future of banking is everything as a service. Just by show of hands, who agrees with me?
Yeah.
So you all disagree with me. What do I mean by that? I mean, we're looking at a future where banks are no longer going to be running their entire shop. You're going to be managing an ecosystem. Things are becoming too complex. You cannot be an expert in everything. You cannot manage everything into its greatest detail. If you're going to be competitive and you're going to give your clients the ease of access to their complex requirements, you're going to have to embrace the ecosystem. That by implication means you're going to be subscribing to something as a service, which forms part of the service that you offer your client. Right? So another good question. Given that the future of banking is everything as a service, what do I really need to manage, and what should I consider outsourcing today? Right? The answer might be nothing, but it's still a great question. Can we move to the next slide, please? So, in conclusion, I'm not going to bore you with sort of 100 things of what we do and how we do it. But I'm going to say this. We can help you in 4 areas. And if what I've said today is of any interest to you, you can come and discuss with me at the booth afterwards in any of those areas. So I'm going to spend 2 minutes just giving you a very high-level rundown of how we can help you not just ask better questions, but also do better projects and produce greater results. So we really do 4 things, right? First thing we do is what I refer to as build the bank, right? That's any type of engagement where we're putting down some form of infrastructure, software solutions, something that enables you to deliver a service to your customer, right? But we don't just do that and run away, right? We support you in 2 ways. One is by helping you run the bank. In other words, looking after those things so that you can focus on your business. The other thing we do is we then help you change the bank. Because if there's one thing we've learned today or highlighted today, is that things don't stay the same. Right? So if you're buying a solution or implementing something today, and you're measuring your success by how little you have to change it moving forward, I think you're measuring the wrong thing, to be quite frank. Change is going to be needed, and it's going to have to be driven all the time, right? So we can build the bank, run the bank, change the bank. And then for those of you that really want to focus on your business and contract everything as a service to enable your business, we have a grow the bank offer, right? Which is where we take care of everything, even future-proofing, evergreen type solutions. Right? As far as you're concerned, you're always on the latest release of everything, you're always running everything perfectly. Now, I spoke earlier about ecosystems. Can you please move to the next slide? Don't just do this on our own, as ITSS. And I don't tell you much about ITSS. If you're really interested, come to the booth and we can talk about our credentials and what we do in great detail. But the bottom line is we don't do this alone. We do this in partnerships because we also can't be everything to everyone, right? We work with EY, IBM, seminars, HCL Tech. Those things might mean something to you, they might not. One I want to highlight is our local partner here, called the Corona Group. They implement ERP solutions and several other things, and we've done some very good projects for them. And so yes, we're walking our talk in our business. We contract a lot of things as a service, just because we can't manage everything ourselves and we want to focus on the things that we need to do. So I can see everyone's drooling. It's probably because you see the hamburger in front of you. So I'm going to leave it at that. Thank you for your time. Thank you for your attention. If you thought it was insightful, please come back to me sometime this afternoon. Thank you.
We really appreciate your time and just taking everything in. So now, the lunch announcement. Okay, so lunch is on the third floor. It's in the Papillon restaurant. If you've never been there, you can either take the elevator all the way up, or there are staircases for anyone who feels fit, anyone who wants to get their steps in. You can walk it, but there is an elevator that you can take. It's on the third floor. Lunch is 45 minutes. Please, not 1 hour, 45 minutes, because we're trying to just make up some time. When you get to the restaurant, you'll be given a coupon at the entrance so that you can go in and have the lunch that you want. So Mohammed will be there. He will be the one giving it out. Please take your coupon before you go into the restaurant. Again, 45 minutes. Thank you all so very much, and we'll see you in. Okay, it's 2:07, so we will see you in. Who's good with math? What? 3:52. Sure, 2:52. Yes, 2:52, according to Francis. Thank you. All right, everyone. Thank you so much.
Done? I didn't. How?
Morning,